welcome back to MBBS Treasure channel. Today we are going to discuss the second part of the disorder of immunological reactivity, and today we are going to discuss the primary immunological insufficiency. What are its types and what are the certain examples of different kinds, and what are the most probable questions that are asked from this primary immunological insufficiency. Okay, so let's start our today's topic. In my previous video, I have said that the immunological reactivity disorder are of two kinds. It may be primary or secondary. Primary means it is inherited or hereditary, and secondary means it will be acquired during the process of development of an organism. Okay, so what will happen during the primary immunological insufficiency? What happens? The immunological reactions that are performed by our body will not be performed or will not be functioning. Okay, what does that means? The cells or the organs that are responsible for forming the immunological reactions will not be present or will not be effectively working for the process of immunological reactions. Okay, so first of all we should know that what are the immunological organs, what are the primary immunological organs. Yes, there are two primary immunological organs like the bone marrow and thymus, and from them the immune cells, like from bone marrow the B lymphocytes divides and differentiates, and the T lymphocytes divides and differentiates in thymus. According to that, the cellular reactions are divided, like if the reactions will be provided or the immunological reactions will be provided by B lymphocytes, then it will be known as humoral reaction, and if it will be provided by T lymphocytes, then it will be known as cellular reactions. Like in the same manner, this primary immunological insufficiency is divided in the same manner. Like if the B lymphocytes, if there will be any kind of problem in the bone marrow or relating with this B lymphocytes, then we will call it as humoral primary immunological insufficiency, and if there will be problem with T cell, then we will call it as T cell primary or cellular primary immunological insufficiency. And if there will both will be disordered or there will be problem lying with both the T cells or both the immunological cells, that is B and T cells, then we will call it as combined immunological deficiency, immunodeficiency. Okay, so let's read about this. The main reasons that arises of this humoral immunodeficiency is if there will be disorder during the process of leukopoiesis and differentiation of B cells, during the production of B cells and differentiation of B cells, if there will be any kind of problem, then this humoral immunodeficiency will arise. And in case of T cells, if this disorder will lie, then it will cellular immunodeficiency. Okay, and in combined, what will happen? There will be disorder of transformation of stem cells to the cell of predecessor lymphopoiesis. What do you mean by this? Listen, these cells, all these cells are produced from a blast cells that is known as pluripotent cells, and these pluripotent cells are divided according to myeloid stem cells, and the second one is the lymphoid stem cells. From the myeloid stem cells, the cells of our blood, like the white blood cells and the red blood cells, are produced, and from the lymphoid stem cells these B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes are produced. And we are going to read all about these stem cells and its derivatives in red blood cells pathology or blood pathology. Okay, so what happens in combined? The pluripotent stem cells, the main stem cells from which the other myeloid stem cells and lymphoid stem cells are being produced, this process of transformation will get disordered or there will be problem lying with this very process. So that is the reason why if the lymphoid stem cells are not produced in a proper manner, then it cannot produce the both B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. That is the reason why both the lymphocytes are absent, or the process of formation of these two cells are absent. That is the reason why it is known as combined form of immunodeficiency. Okay, so there are certain examples relating to this each kind of variety of immunodeficiency, and according to exam prospective view we are going to discuss the important ones, and I have written this, and these are the most important questions that are being asked by our teachers, and also these are important according to Krok. Okay, so I want you to watch this and read it. Okay, first one is the Bruton syndrome. What do you mean by this Bruton syndrome? It comes under the humoral type of primary immunodeficiency. Bruton syndrome is otherwise known as this XLA. What do you mean by XLA? It is X-linked agammaglobulinemia. Agammaglobulinemia. If you will divide the terms, A means absence, gamma globulin. There will be absence of gamma globulin, and emia. As I have said earlier, that if the word is present emia after certain words, it means this is including the bloods. So there will be absence of gamma globulins in the blood, and this disease or this syndrome is X-linked syndrome. This is the Bruton syndrome, and it is associated with X chromosomes. It is X-linked agammaglobulinemia. There will be absence of mature B cells. Agammaglobulinemia means absence of this mature B cells. And in my previous video, I have explained how these mature B cells are produced. When the antigens comes, the B lymphocytes that are present coming in contact with the antigens, they will try to get converted into blast cells or lymphoblast cells, and these lymphoblast cells will again be transformed to plasmacyte cells. These plasmacytes are the active form of B lymphocytes that produces these antibodies. Okay, different kinds of antibodies. So what will happen if there will be absence of mature B cells? The body suffering from the Bruton syndrome will not be able to produce the antibodies. So there will be recurrent infections occurring in the Bruton syndrome, as the body is not able to produce varieties of antibodies in response to the antigens. So there will be recurrent infections, and it is mostly observed it is bacterial infection. And secondly, what happens, it is mostly manifest in boys, because boys have X and Y sex chromosomes. As there is only one X chromosome, so the probability is maximum in case of boys. Next comes is the common variable immunodeficiency. Listen, this is agammaglobulinemia. It means absence, but here it is hypogammaglobulinemia. It means it is not completely absent, but there are certain gamma globulinemia, means antibodies which are not able to produce that much effective amount of antibodies in response to the antigens. So that is why it's written hypogammaglobulinemia. In a similar fashion, there is also one kind like selective deficit immunoglobulins. It is the dyspoiesis of antibodies of certain class. There are different classes of antibodies like MACD, as I said, IgM, IgA, IgD, IgE, and G. Okay, so there will be deficiency of any kind of deficiency of any class of antibodies, then it is known as selective deficiency of immunoglobulins. In this humoral type, you just have to concentrate on this, because this is the important question asked by our teachers. How you should remember this Bruton syndrome, because after reading so many syndrome or so many diseases, you will get confused. But there is a trick to remember, because how you are going to remember, it is humoral means B, and Bruton starts with the word letter B. So through these relations you can remember it easily. Okay, next comes is the cellular type of primary immunodeficiency. Cellular type of primary immunodeficiency exists due to there will be disorder in thymus. Thymus, because thymus is the primary differentiation site of T lymphocytes. Okay, it is mostly affected by viral infections. Okay, next comes, what are the examples of cellular immunodeficiency? These two are the important for exam perspective view. So let's discuss. First one is the Dijon syndrome. Dijon syndrome is otherwise known as 22q deletion syndrome. It is known as 22q deletion syndrome. What do you mean by this? If okay, listen, if this is 22 chromosome, okay, and this is the P arm and this whole total is Q arm. If there will be deletion in this Q arm, there will be deletion of this Q arm at this side, then this Dijon syndrome will arise. What happens to the person suffering from Dijon syndrome? The person is developed thymic aplasia. There will be atrophy of the thymus. The thymus will not be producing the amount of T cells, that is known as thymic aplasia, and defective differentiation in predecessor T cell to T lymphocytes. Like in the same manner as the B lymphocytes, primary B lymphocytes was not able to differentiate into plasmocytes and not able to produce the antibodies. Similarly, there will be the predecessor T cells will not be able to differentiate into the primary T lymphocytes, or the lymphocytes that are that will produce the cellular reactions. Like there will be T killer, T cytotoxic reactions, the the lymphokines producing T lymphocytes. So there will be certain T cells, there will be absence of these T cells, and this Dijon syndrome is marked by this thymic aplasia. You should remember this term. Okay, and as the T cell is not produced, so there will be impossible in cellular answer. Next comes is the nasalophase syndrome. In nasalophase syndrome, what happens? There will be abnormal agenesis of thymus. The thymus will be, there will be genesis problem, formation of thymus. It means the problem will lie in during the formation of thymus. And secondly, lymphocytosis. As the thymus is affected, lymphocytes will not be produced. So lymphocytosis, and it is a autosomal recessive disorder. Okay. From this cellular type, you should remember this Dijon syndrome. It comes in Kroks, and it is also asked in modules. So the teacher will ask, mostly you have to differentiate between this Dijon syndrome and Bruton syndrome, how it is if infected through the viral infection or bacterial infections, and what are the mechanisms through which this Dijon syndrome or Bruton syndrome is classified. Like in Dijon syndrome, it is T cells, or there will be thymic aplasia, and in Bruton syndrome, it is X-linked agammaglobulinemia, not hypogammaglobulinemia. You have to remember, and there will be absence of this mature B cells. Absence. It is completely absent. There, so that it will result in a recurrent infection. Okay, and here will be the cellular answer to the viral infection will be absent. Okay, so next comes is the combined form of immunodeficiency. Combined, why it is known? Because both the T and B lymphocytes from the lymphoid stem cells will not be produced, as the problem lies during the transformation of stem cell to the next predecessor lymphopoietic stem cells. Under that, What are the examples? The Lewis-Barr syndrome and the Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. In Lewis-Barr syndrome, what happens? It is autosomal recessive syndrome. Autosomal recessive syndrome. This is the first thing. And secondly, how it is characterized. What is the symptoms through which you can say that yes, the person is suffering from this combined primary immunodeficiency. First one is cerebral atrophy and second one is telangiectasia. Cerebral atrophy means there will be progressive ataxia. Ataxia means there will be disorder in balance of your head movement, your eye movement, and also there will be slurred speech. There will be problem lying with your speech. So that is a condition known as ataxia. So you have to remember this word ataxia and telangiectasia. What do you mean by telangiectasia? Telangiectasia is otherwise known as spider veins. Spider veins means there will be veins on our surface of our body. This is the skin part. Okay, so the red one is the skin part and the blue one are the veins. What do you mean by spider veins? The veins that are superficial to our skin that are present on our surface of our skin or the mucous membrane, they will be dilated and they will just look like spider nets. So that is the reason why it is known as spider veins. So this is a symptom or a characteristic symptoms of Lewis-Barr syndrome. There will be ataxia and second one will be telangiectasia. Okay. Next comes is the Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome is characterized by eczema, first one, and thrombocytopenia. Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome is mainly due to problem lying with the bone marrow. Listen, bone marrow is the primary immunological organ from which the B lymphocytes, also some amount of T lymphocytes are produced. Okay. So as the problem lies with bone marrow, there will not be production of T lymphocytes and there will be less amount of platelets, and as the bone marrow is affected, due to affection of platelets, there will be increasing amount of time of bleeding. There will be increased time of bleeding and that leads to thrombocytopenia. Eczema is a condition of dermal disorder, skin disorder, through which you can see there will be inflammation, redness and itchiness on the skin, and that is characterized by eczema. So in Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome, these two characters like eczema and thrombocytopenia are same mostly. Okay, so in combined you have to remember these two syndrome, Lewis-Barr syndrome and Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. The questions are mostly framed in Krok, taking the concepts of these four syndromes. First one is the Bruton, second one is the Dijon syndrome, third one is the Lewis-Barr syndrome, and fourth one is the Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. You should be able to differentiate this humoral, cellular and combined form of immunodeficiency. This is the most important part of the topic that the teachers can ask in the modules. Okay, they will just ask, can you just explain the Bruton syndrome, can you just give the features of Dijon syndrome, like it will be thymic aplasia. The Lewis-Barr syndrome, it is characterized by ataxia and telangiectasia, and Wiskott syndrome, it is by eczema and thrombocytopenia. Okay, so this was all about the primary immunological insufficiency. It is a kind of inherited form. In my next video, I will be discussing the secondary immunological insufficiency. Okay, so this was all about our today's topic. If you find this helpful, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching my video.